guys, Ambush Bunny here from Ambush Bunny Survival. Before I get started with today's video, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you get notifications when I post anything new. So right now what we're looking at, we're into July, which has now become what we call the dearth whenever it comes to beekeeping. And dearth basically means that there's not really a whole lot around here that is blooming. We don't have a whole lot of pollen. We don't have a whole lot of nectar going on. So now is the time where I start doing my feeding. So as you can see here inside this bucket, this is the upgrades I've done to my feeding station with a couple of these little flat stones that raise up this grate. And I'll show you why in a minute. But inside this bucket, I've got this yellow powder. They have been making a mess. It's quite fun to watch them do this. Watch, they're rolling in it. Gather, 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 gather. That's right, I'm right here up in the middle of these guys. I'm not scared of them. I've only been stung a handful of times. I can count on one hand how many times I've been stung. A couple of times was because I went and opened up the hive and they were incredibly angry and they stung me through my gloves. And one time I was carrying a jar of several jars of nectar and one got against my thumb and I accidentally pressed against it with my thumb trying to hold the jar and it stung me thinking I was trying to eat it. But here they are all getting into this pollen substitute. So this helps them continue to make brood. And what I've got going on over here is I am preparing to set up my feeding for my nectar. So I've got pure white granulated sugar. Don't go with any of this organic stuff, as pure as you can get it. This is my feeding bucket. I have a video that I showed how to make this. I learned it from Barnyard Bees. Go check those guys out. They're incredibly amazing. They have a lot of information about beekeeping. This is the pollen substitute I use. It's a powder. And I really suggest this brand. They're really good. The Ultra Bee. And so I get that from a place called Sutherland's. It's nearby. I also, when I mix up my nectar now, I am adding in this Pro Health feeding supplement, which helps maintain their digestion. It also has stuff inside of it. Hi, you weren't one of mine. You're a bumblebee. You're cute, though. Anyway, this has essential oils, which helps not only attract them, but it also helps with their digestion. It's really good for them. So I add that in. So that goes with this. So of course we have the sugar, the feeding bucket, which I am using it with this food grade lid that spins on and off. There are holes inside this little area here. Look up the video either off of my channel or go check it out from the original place, which is Barnyard Bees, and see how they did it. I was using one of these. This is called a bee raft. This actually, instead of having this lid, this floats inside it. You rough it up with some sanding paper. You do the same thing to the inside of the bucket, so if they get into the liquid, they can climb. It gives them traction. Pro to this, I don't have to dump this thing over. And the cells fill up really slow, so that it doesn't keep the liquid inside the squares that I have found. And they get down in there and they stick their little mouth parts into the part that the liquid actually drains out of. As with this, it floats on top of the liquid. They can get the nectar from around the edges, plus these little holes here fill up a little bit of nectar, and they drink from there. Downside, when you have a large number of bees trying to come feed off of this, they can possibly drown each other. When you get to that point, you need another bucket with another one of these. I haven't ordered another one yet. I haven't decided if I am going to order another one, but I have it on hand if I need it. The other problem is the top is open, so you get other bugs getting inside of your nectar directly, and if it rains, water gets inside your nectar. Doesn't really hurt it, it just dilutes it. So that's the problems with that. I also have a knife to open up my sugar, a spoon. Now you're supposed to be doing teaspoons, but I've got a tablespoon here because I just kind of cut everything a little under half to add in. And I'm following the directions on the bottle. I've got a pole here to stir my nectar, smaller bucket, which I'm going to mix up nectar in as well to fill all my smaller feeding jars. Now these are lids that I actually purchased, and they have little holes pricked in them. And when you turn it over, the water makes tension against this and they don't drip out, and the bees actually come in and drink from those holes. And you just screw it on your basic jar. With those, usually they have a stand that they sit into and it slides into the front of the feeder, into the front of the hive. But instead, since I've got this rack over here, I actually turn it upside down and sit them on top of the rack, the bees can go underneath it and feed. This lid here, whenever the bucket sits above that. When I flip it over, if anything drains, it collects inside this bucket. And it's got those shallow edges where they can climb out if they fall in. But it catches all that extra nectar, so I don't lose any. And then I'll just be lining up all the jars right here. That one there is the lid to that big square one there. And let me show you these. So not only did I purchase some lid that go on your basic jars. So I've got 3 of those there. Hi, sweetheart. I see you. I've also kept pickle jars. And I've put holes in their lids with just a nail and a hammer. Just gently drove it in just enough to get holes in there. And same with this pickle jar here. So that was pickled beets. That's regular pickles. This was for my bearded dragons. And I took a drill and drilled some small holes in it and put liquid in there. And this was dry roasted peanuts. I put 3 holes in each corner. Can't really see it because of the liquid in there right now. See them now? They're there. On each corner I did that. And so when I turn this over, same thing. Tensions builds up against these holes and it stops, and the bees can come under here and feed. So I didn't need it directly on the wire, but it's got that little dish on it in case anything does leak, that there's nothing wasted. As you can see, I took the lid off and left it there because it still had a little bit of nectar in it that they couldn't reach because of where it was angled. And they are going to town right now, enjoying it. Yep, those are little yellow jackets, I think. I've actually had several of those guys land on me, walk, and leave. The bumbles, they also will come land on me and walk off. I'm a little bit more edgy about them landing on me, whereas opposed to my girls, they're getting after it. Happy, happy, happy bees. So I'm going to start mixing this up. And right now, it's not winter, so I'm doing a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 part sugar to 1 part water. So however much sugar I throw in, I add the equal amount of water. Usually I use hot water from the sink, but it's such a pain to carry that thing from inside the house to way out here. So I'm using my water hose wand, and then I'm going to stir it up and get it as stirred as well as I can where it's not too cloudy. Even if it's a little cloudy, the sunlight will heat it up and finish mixing it for me. Thank you, Mother Nature. So let me get started, and then I'll show you setting this thing up. Alright, so I've mixed with my pipe until I can't feel large clumps and lumps of sugar in the bottom of the bucket. It's got leaves in it because my pipe had leaves on it. I've already added in my additive, which is going to keep the stuff a little cloudy. So this thing, oh yeah, you guys already smell it. I've got to get a lid before they get in there. This lid has a gasket right up here around the top of it. Pop it on, make sure it's really well seated. Tighten it down as tight as you can get it. So let me get this fully tightened up and we'll go set it over, and then I'll start filling up these jars and I'll show you what it looks like after I get everything put together. So feeder bucket goes first because when I put it on, since it's so heavy, it kind of shakes the rack. But since I've already flipped it over, as you can see, they're already coming. The seal hasn't been made yet on the holes, so all the extra liquid is draining into this bucket here in the bottom. There's the bucket lid. Let me move it where it kind of scatters a little bit. So that's going to disperse into these little holes as it fills up. It's going to go in each of those little cells. And that way I don't waste any. It ends up in the grass. If I see where it doesn't seal up right, I'm going to take it off and re-tighten the lid a little bit more, because then maybe I didn't get a good enough seal. And so next, I'm going to make sure that stops. Next, I'll do the jars, so that way when I set them into this space here, they don't shake and fall over. They're a pain to fight with. One of the other options, instead of doing this nectar, is to go and buy something called Pro Sweet, which is already pre-mixed, and that way you don't have to worry about sticky hands, sticky kitchen. That's why I do mine outside, because it just gets everywhere and is absolutely terrible and sticky. Since we're in dearth and it's just July, I'm doing a 1-to-1 mixture. During the winter, you do a 2-to-1, so that way they get all the extra nutrients to help keep them where they can keep their heat up inside their hive during the winter time and make it to spring. All right, once I'm gonna check on this, once this stops, I'll show you what I do with the next jars. Alright, so I've got everything set up. I had to take the bucket back down and retighten the lid a little more. It had a few more clicks. It's still dripping, but it's going to drip some till it makes a good seal. Then it'll stop dripping. Got all their jars lined up. So they're all going to start going underneath this rack and feeding from the underside of these jars. This one's got the holes in the corners, so they're going to start feeding off the corners. And anything that drips into that little dish there, they're going to slurp up from the bottom. Same going on with this little lid that's underneath the bucket it's catching. I need to get me a bigger pan to go under there. Something that's shallow but wide, so I can stick it completely under there and it catch any of the drip off of any of them. But I'm going to have to put some rocks in it so that way, if it does rain, they won't drown in it. And as you can see, they are all still going crazy over that pollen substitute. One of the other recent developments. My hive there, this is now referred to alpha hive. Why? Come with me. Here it is, because I caught a swarm. My hive split. So now this is beta hive. This is my nook that it actually came in. I went and bought another nook, but I haven't painted it yet. So I'm using this one and just the lid off of that one. And when this gets where they start multiplying this, I'm going to paint that one and use that to raise this up another level. And keep them in here so that way it'll go from, it's got a in-hive feeder in here and 4 frames so that they can be able to eat here and not have to compete with the others and have food directly inside their hive to start building off of. This is just temporary. This is not a full setup, so don't do this. But I made a guard to go on the front to keep the queen inside and just kind of taped it in place until the one I ordered comes in. Then this is going to come off and I'm going to put a real front guard queen excluder to keep the queen inside, because as long as she stays in there, the rest of the hive will stay in there. They're small. It was only like a small ball, like lemon size, of bees all gathered around the queen inside the feeder bucket. I had the bee raft inside there, and so I managed to save her before they drowned her and gathered up everybody that I could and put them inside here. Hi. I went and grabbed a piece of one frame that had honey and brood in it to help get them jump started. So they're all in here, they're working, their feeders on this side. So here's hoping that they do good. Now come with me for a second and I'll show you the inside of Alpha Hive. Alright, over here by Alpha Hive, I planted wildflowers for these guys. Some of them finally started springing up. They didn't get killed by all the rain. So as you can see, pretty wildflowers. They've got these flowers here that they go and also get some pollen and nectar, but not a lot. They're still taking down the pollen substitute. If they don't need it, they won't take it. So I've got an entrance guard on them since it is in dearth to give them a smaller space to protect. You can see it this side over here. And so the ones sitting right at the entrance, those are the guard bees. They're making sure those who are going in belong there. But we'll come around back. The catches that I use, my cable here for when we have high winds to keep it from toppling this, because these things get heavy, but if enough force pushes on them, they will fall over. And inside here, this is my migratory lid. Since it's hot, there's a mesh bottom. This has a hole here so air goes from the bottom and vents the hot air out the top. And we have a mesh top up here. We should get a little glimpse real fast. But my girl's working. Kind of cool, huh? Down it goes. So still, this is an adventure for beekeeping for me. I'm still learning. Don't use these videos as a guide on what to do, but just showing you what I'm doing and what I'm learning to do. If you want to find videos to learn from and to use as a guide on what to do and what not to do, I suggest Barnyard Bees. Those guys are amazing. They do amazing work. They make a lot of videos for the new beekeepers to help them out, help get them started. What to do, what not to do, how to set up your hive. Of course, mine's set up off the ground on cinder blocks, and it's kind of raised up. I've got a rug under here to keep grass down so it doesn't get up against the hive. makes it easier for cleaning around it. That way I just leave all the wildflowers and stuff that grows around it here. During wintertime, this is all going to die down again. It'll be fine. But also, if you get like beetle larvae, when they fall out the great bottom, they can't go into the ground to turn into adults, to try and control hive beetles. I do have some stuff to help treat them for inside my hive. That's going to be a later video. So be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you can see what else I do with these guys. We're also still working on the garden. And my dad has been sick, and I've been taking care of him back and forth from hospitals and doctor's visits, so I haven't really got to take care of, well, as you can see, it's grown over. But there's still stuff here growing. I just have to get out here with some sleeves because the mosquitoes are eating me to pull the grass out. And I am having to watch where I step because my brother found a young copperhead in the backyard, which is not very far away. And I don't want to get bit. But this stuff here, there's still stuff growing in it. I just have to go and rescue everything. But I want to show you something real fast before I end this video. One of the previous ones when I talked about my garden, oh, excuse me, was that, that's a zucchini, that's a zucchini. They still got blooms, so they should be putting stuff on. I just got to get here and get all the grass out. Down here, once I get all this grass pulled, I'll be able to see all my plants better. Have you ever seen a purple bell pepper before? That's no filter on that. That's a purple bell pepper. Pretty, isn't it? My other tomato plants, they're in there. They're still producing, but they're not looking so great. Fig tree is starting to produce. That's the next crop of the season here in July. Last month was my wild plums, which I picked and sold those. I gotta come clean up after myself, pick up all my mess, and put them up with the rest of my stuff. It doesn't take them long. Little bee butts sticking up in the air. Bucket's still dripping a little bit, but that lid's catching it, and they'll drink that as fast as it drips. Trust me. That 5-gallon bucket won't last a day. I'm not feeding them every day, every few days. And the reason why we feed with the pollen and the nectar is to help them continue making brood, to keep expanding the size of the hive, and also so they'll put stuff away for the winter. So I'm going to continue feeding them to prep them. Peas are doing. I gotta come out here and pick those. I've got some gourds actually coming up on the gourd vines down there at the edge of the yard. And, oh, there's more on here. Awesome. I hadn't checked these recently. Watermelon. 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 Oh, is that one rotting? Yep, something got that one. So that one's not doing good. I'm going to have to take that one out and pitch it. But watermelon. There are all kinds of, ooh, that one looks nice. All kinds of watermelons over here. Look at this one. Look at that. There's some more there, there. They're all down there. Cantaloupes didn't do too good. I think we had a small dry spell and I wasn't able to come out and run some water down this furrows. So they got dried out. This one here is my best one. Look at that. So usually when we planted them in a different spot, they wouldn't get bigger than like a softball. So they keep making. I've got to come up here and clean around all my bushes for my berries. So like my raspberries, my blackberries. But I've got lots of watermelons coming up, so hopefully they will make, and then I'll have watermelons. I gotta come and clean up the tarps. These are where my, as you can see, where my berries fell. I've got a bunch out here that I'm gonna come and try and reclaim some seeds out of. I put them up in the freezer in a bag with damp peat moss. Not the freezer, the fridge. Put them in the fridge. And hopefully they'll germinate. Oh, there's one that, I guess I didn't drop all of them. These are what these look like. It's got a little blight on it, so it wouldn't be used for cooking or anything, but I can still take the seed out of this one to use it to regrow more. But I've got to pull all these tarps up. The downside of putting them down here, you got to take them up and you got to wash them, hang them out, let them dry, fold them up and put them away for next year. it's a chore. But thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll continue making content for what's going on here in this area. And I'll show you as more of this stuff produces when I get some of the gourds the right size. Getting ready soon. We're going to be going out and cleaning the stands out. I know for a fact that mine's got at least 3 wasp nests in it that's going to have to be removed. I went out recently just to take a friend out to show it. I've got, instead of just helping out, it's actually officially my stand instead of just helping maintain it, because I'm now officially a member of the hunting club. And so that stand would be mine to help keep up with, not just help everybody else clean theirs, but actually take care of my own this year for once. So I've got to go get the 3 wasp nests out of the stand that I've claimed as mine, prep it, and when I went up there with a friend to show her, since I was going to be a member and she might get to come hang out with me, I found that the rat snake that lives up there is still there. So maybe I'll show y'all Toby when I see him. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day. Later.